Pause for a moment, because something has already shifted around you, something quiet yet undeniable, like a door that has finally stopped resisting and is now slowly opening. You may not see it yet, but you can feel it, can't you? That subtle calm replacing the confusion that once surrounded your heart, as if the storm that lingered for so long has finally decided it has nothing left to prove. There was a time, not too far in the past, when everything felt uncertain, when their silence spoke louder than any words, when distance seemed stronger than connection, and you wondered, quietly, without telling anyone, if this story was ever meant to reach the ending you once dreamed of. But what you didn't see, what was happening beyond your awareness, was far more powerful than any doubt that crossed your mind. Because while you were learning patience, they were facing something deeper, something that demanded courage from them in ways they had never experienced before, a moment where excuses no longer worked, where hesitation began to feel heavier than action, where the idea of losing you became more real than the fear of stepping forward. And here is where everything begins to turn. Not with noise, not with a dramatic announcement, but with a quiet decision made in the deepest part of their heart, a decision that didn't need validation from anyone else, a decision that simply knew. Enough. Have you noticed it? The energy around you feels different, lighter, almost as if something that once blocked your path has gently stepped aside, and you might not fully understand why yet, but there's a reason your spirit feels more at ease now, a reason your thoughts are no longer tangled the way they used to be, because the battle, the one you didn't even know you were part of, has reached its end. Not the kind of battle filled with noise or chaos, but the silent one, the inner conflict, the back and forth within their own mind, the doubts, the fears, the voices that kept telling them to wait, to hold back, to question what they already felt so deeply inside. But something changed, and this is the part you need to stay for, because this shift, it didn't happen randomly. It happened when they realized that no matter how long they delayed, no matter how many distractions they created, the truth remained the same. You were never just a passing thought, never just a temporary feeling. You became something permanent in their world, something they could not replace, something they could not ignore anymore. Let that sink in. They tried to move away from it. They tried to convince themselves that timing wasn't right, that circumstances needed to be perfect, that things had to align in a certain way before they could step forward, but the more they resisted, the clearer it became, that some connections don't wait for perfect timing, they create it. And now, that moment has arrived. You might not see them standing in front of you yet, you might not hear the words you've been waiting for just yet, but something inside them has already crossed the point of no return, something has already decided. I am not letting this go. Can you feel the weight of that? Because when someone reaches that place, when their heart stops negotiating with fear, when their mind finally agrees with what their soul has been saying all along, there is no going back to how things were before. And that is exactly where they are now. The hesitation that once held them still, is fading. The doubts that once clouded their vision, are clearing. And the distance that once felt permanent, is beginning to close, slowly, naturally, almost effortlessly. But here's the part that makes this even more meaningful. It's not happening because they were pushed, not because someone told them what to do, not because of pressure or expectation. It's happening because they chose it, and choices made from that place, from clarity, from truth, from deep emotional realization, those are the ones that last. Stay with this for a second. Because what's unfolding is not just about them coming closer, it's about something aligning in a way that was always meant to happen, just not in the timing you expected. You were never meant to chase this. You were never meant to force it. You were meant to become so grounded in yourself, so aligned with your own path, that when this moment arrived, you would recognize it not as something surprising, but as something inevitable. And now, here you are, at the edge of a shift that feels both unfamiliar and strangely familiar at the same time, as if part of you always knew this day would come, even when everything around you suggested otherwise. But wait. Because something even more important is about to reveal itself, something that explains why this connection never truly broke, why it stayed, even in silence, even in distance. And once you understand this part, everything will begin to make sense in a way it never has before. My beloved child, pause here for just a breath longer than usual, because something subtle has already begun to unfold around you, something that doesn't announce itself loudly, yet it changes everything quietly, like a moment suspended between what was and what is about to become, and if you listen closely, not with your ears, but with that deeper awareness within you, you will notice it, the stillness that wasn't there before, the calm that feels unfamiliar yet comforting, as if something that once resisted has finally softened its grip. There was a phase when everything felt tangled, when emotions didn't flow, they collided, when answers seemed just out of reach, like shadows that disappeared the moment you tried to hold on to them, and in those moments, you asked yourself questions you never voiced out loud, questions that lingered in silence. Why is this so difficult? Why does it feel so right, yet so distant? And most importantly, is this ever going to move forward? But what you couldn't see, what remained hidden behind the scenes, was a process far more powerful than any visible sign. Something was shifting, slowly but with certainty, within them, a quiet transformation that didn't need to be seen to be real. And here is where everything begins to deepen. Because while you were learning to let go of control, they were learning to face what they had been avoiding, not because they wanted to run from it, but because some truths are so intense, so undeniable, that they take time to be accepted fully, and you became one of those truths in their life. Think about that for a moment. You were never something they could easily define, never something they could casually walk away from. You became a question they couldn't answer by ignoring, a presence that stayed with them even when everything else distracted them, and no matter how far they tried to step back, something within them kept returning, again, and again, and again. And that repetition, that quiet pull, it was not random. It was the beginning of the end of their resistance. There came a moment, no, not a loud dramatic moment, but a quiet realization, that changed everything for them, a moment where the weight of holding back became heavier than the fear of moving forward, where silence no longer felt safe, where distance no longer felt like protection, but like loss. And this is where the battle truly ended. Not in chaos, not in confrontation, but in clarity. Let that settle within you. Because clarity is different, it doesn't argue, it doesn't hesitate, it simply knows. And once someone reaches that place, there is no returning to confusion, no going back to pretending, no more convincing themselves that maybe this doesn't matter. Because it does. You do. And now, something inside them has finally aligned with that truth. Have you noticed the shift within yourself too? That quiet sense that something is about to happen, even if you can't explain how or when. That feeling that you're standing on the edge of something meaningful, something that feels both new and somehow already known. That is not imagination. That is awareness catching up with reality. Because what has already changed within them is beginning to ripple outward, slowly reaching you, gently preparing you, without rushing, without forcing, just unfolding. And here's something important, something you might not have fully realized yet. This was never about timing the way you thought it was. It was never about waiting for the perfect moment, or the perfect circumstances, or everything aligning externally. It was about internal readiness. And now, that readiness exists. Not partially, not uncertainly, but completely. They are no longer standing between two choices. They have already chosen. Feel the weight of that statement. Because a decision made in silence, one that is not influenced by noise, pressure, or expectation, carries a strength that cannot be shaken easily. And that is the kind of decision they have made. The kind that doesn't need to be announced immediately, because it is already real, already set into motion, already shaping what comes next. But wait, don't rush past this. Because something even deeper is happening beneath this surface shift. Something that explains why this connection never truly faded, why even in moments of distance, something remained untouched, unchanged, almost protected in a way you couldn't understand at the time. There is a reason for that. A reason why no matter what came between you, the connection never broke completely. A reason why even silence felt like it carried meaning, even absence felt like presence in disguise. And this reason, it is about to reveal itself. But before it does, there is something you need to recognize within yourself first. Because this is not just their journey, it is yours too. You were not simply waiting, you were becoming. Becoming stronger in ways you didn't notice. Becoming more aware, more grounded, more aligned with who you truly are, even in moments when you felt uncertain, even in moments when you questioned everything. You were preparing, not for something uncertain, but for something inevitable. Pause here. Because what you're about to understand next might shift the way you see everything that has happened so far. All the delays, all the confusion, all the silence. They were not blocks, they were alignment. And now, that alignment has reached a point where it can no longer remain hidden. Something is moving, something is coming closer. Not rushed, not forced, but certain. And as this unfolds, you will begin to notice small signs, subtle changes, moments that feel different, conversations that carry a new depth, interactions that no longer feel uncertain. Because when someone decides from the deepest part of themselves, their actions begin to follow naturally. And that is exactly what is beginning now. But here's the part you need to stay for, because this is where everything becomes even more meaningful. This decision, this shift, this clarity they have reached. It didn't just bring them closer to you, it changed the way they see you. Let that sink in slowly. Because before, they may have felt something strong, something real, something undeniable. But now, they understand it, and understanding transforms everything. It turns feelings into commitment. It turns connection into intention. It turns possibility into direction. And once that transformation happens, the path forward becomes clear. Not perfect, not without effort, but clear. And they are no longer afraid of that path. They are ready for it. Can you feel the difference? Because readiness carries a different energy, a different presence, a different kind of movement. It doesn't rush, but it doesn't delay either. It simply moves forward, steadily, confidently, without looking back at what once caused hesitation. And that is where they are now, moving, not away, but toward something they can no longer ignore, toward something they can no longer postpone, toward you. But wait. Because something even more profound is about to be revealed. Something that explains why this moment, this exact moment, is the one where everything begins to come together. And once you see it, you will understand why nothing could have happened differently, why every step, every delay, every moment of uncertainty, was leading here. Right here. To this turning point. And what happens next will not feel like coincidence. It will feel like confirmation. Stay with this. Because the next part, it changes everything. My beloved child, before anything else, let this moment stretch just a little longer than you expect, because what is happening right now is not loud, not obvious, yet it is deeply real. Something has settled, something has completed its unseen cycle, and in that quiet completion, a new beginning has already started breathing around you. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. There was a chapter where everything felt like it was slipping through your fingers, where even hope felt like something you had to hold on to carefully, as if it might disappear if you relaxed for even a second, and in those moments, you carried questions that had no answers, feelings that had no direction, and a connection that seemed to exist without movement, as if time itself had paused. But time never paused. It was working, silently, patiently, shaping something neither of you could have rushed, because what was forming was not fragile, it was something that needed depth, something that needed truth, something that needed both of you to reach a point where running away was no longer an option. And that point has now been reached. Feel that shift. Because it didn't arrive with noise, it didn't come with sudden chaos or dramatic change. It arrived like a quiet certainty, like a knowing that doesn't need proof, like a decision that doesn't need approval. They have reached the end of their internal conflict, the place where all the what-ifs have faded, where all the maybe later has lost its meaning, where all the hesitation has finally dissolved into one clear realization. This is where I belong. And when someone arrives at that realization, not because they were told to, not because they were pressured, but because they discovered it within themselves, everything changes. Pause here for a second. Because this is not just about them choosing you. This is about them choosing a life they can no longer imagine without you in it. And that is a very different kind of choice. A deeper one. A permanent one. There was a time when they tried to make sense of their feelings, to organize them, to question them, to delay them, as if love could be controlled by logic, as if connection could be postponed until it became convenient. But some things don't follow convenience. Some things follow truth. And truth, no matter how long it is delayed, always finds its way to the surface. You became that truth for them. Let that echo within you. Not a passing emotion, not a temporary attachment, but something that stayed, even when everything else changed, even when distance grew, even when silence filled the spaces where words once existed. You stayed, and now, they understand why. This is where the story turns, not with confusion, but with clarity, not with doubt, but with direction, not with fear, but with courage, because they have realized something they can no longer ignore. Losing you is no longer an option they are willing to accept, and that realization, it shifts everything. Have you noticed how your own energy has begun to change? How you are no longer holding on to the same tension, how you are no longer questioning every little sign, how something within you feels steadier. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. Because when one part of a connection reaches clarity, the other part begins to feel it, even before anything is spoken, even before anything is seen. And right now, you are feeling it. That subtle sense that something is coming closer. That quiet knowing that something is about to move. That feeling that the waiting is no longer endless. Because it isn't. The waiting has transformed into preparation. And preparation always leads to action. But here's something even more important, something you might not expect. This journey, it was never about proving anything, not about proving your worth, not about proving your importance, not about proving that you deserve to be chosen. You were never meant to prove, you were meant to be, and in being, in staying true to yourself, in not forcing what wasn't ready, in not chasing what needed to find its own way. You allowed something real to grow, something unforced, something undeniable. And now, that reality is becoming visible. They are no longer standing at a distance. They are no longer observing from afar. They are stepping forward, not out of impulse, not out of pressure, but out of certainty. Stay with this. Because this is where everything becomes even more meaningful. This is not just about them coming back, or reaching out, or closing the gap. This is about them arriving with intention, with clarity, with a vision that includes you, not as a possibility, but as a future. And when someone reaches that point, their actions change, their presence changes, their energy changes. You will notice it, not in one big moment, but in many small ones. The way they speak, the way they show up, the way they no longer hesitate where they once did. Because hesitation has been replaced with decision, and decision creates movement. Pause for a moment. Because what is unfolding now, it is not random. It is the result of everything that came before, every delay, every silence, every moment of uncertainty. All of it led here, to this turning point, to this moment where the path forward is no longer unclear. And yes, there may still be things that need to be worked through, conversations that need to happen, steps that need to be taken. But the difference now is that they are willing, and willingness is everything. Without it, nothing moves. With it, everything begins. And right now, everything is beginning. Can you feel the quiet excitement beneath the surface? That subtle anticipation, that gentle sense that something meaningful is approaching. That is not illusion. That is awareness. Because the connection you share, it has reached a stage where it can no longer remain hidden, where it can no longer stay paused, where it can no longer exist without movement. It is ready to evolve. And they are ready to act. But wait. Because there is one more layer, something even deeper, something that explains why this moment feels so powerful, so significant, so different from anything before. It's not just that they are coming toward you, it's how they are coming, not with uncertainty, not with half-decisions, not with doubt, but with intention to stay. Let that settle. Because that changes everything. It means this is not temporary. It means this is not fragile. It means this is something they have chosen fully, completely, without holding anything back. And when someone chooses like that, there is no more running, no more delaying, no more questioning what they already know. They move forward. And that is exactly what is happening now. The distance is closing. The silence is breaking. The connection is stepping into reality. And you are standing right at the edge of it. But don't rush this moment. Don't try to force what is already unfolding. Let it come. Let it reveal itself. Because what is coming next, it will not feel like something you chased. It will feel like summit.